Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon. Very glad that you're here with me today. It's a wonderful Tuesday. We've had a few storms going on. Hope you're being home and being safe and everything. And I'm very glad that you're here with me today. Let me introduce myself if you haven't been in one of my previous classes. My name is Alex Cooper. I teach the computer classes for the Columbia County Libraries, the Columbia County Library in Evans, the Harlem Library, and the Grovetown Library as well. So very glad that you're here with me today. Now, of course, we've switched over to having our classes and stuff on YouTube. So just remember, to be able to make comments, you do have to be logged into YouTube, but also I do post an announcement or a post on the library's pages so that you can find our videos as well. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about what we're going to cover today. Hold on. You always have to make sure you're clicking the right thing, right? There we go. All right, so let's talk about what we're going to cover today. So we're covering coding Scratch to Python. And the big thing I always start off with was, do you have any questions? How can I help? You know, what projects have you been working on? You know, hello, hello, welcome, welcome. So definitely feel free to kind of ask any questions in the chat or anything. So this is actually a new class. This will be my first time actually teaching this class. What we've done previously is we do our Raspberry Pi hands-on computer classes, and we delve a little bit into Python, okay, just to be able to get basically our LEDs and stuff like that to light up. And I've got those previous classes are either on the Facebook pages for the library, or they're on the Scratch Scratch classes, if I can talk. The Scratch classes are still available here on our YouTube channel as well. So I wanted to get a little bit further into Python. Had a lot of students that really liked the Scratch animation class. A lot of students that really liked the Scratch game class, which those videos are still up to. And wanted to get a little bit more into coding, and Python's a good start. Now, I will not pretend that I'm some kind of expert on Python. I'm not. I still feel like I'm new to it. I just recently took the and got certified through FutureLearn, the Scratch class, getting students ready for Python and block coding. So a lot of the hands-on stuff that we're going to be doing today is from that online class that I took, and hopefully you'll get involved and want to do a little bit more, okay? So this should be a pretty fun class. So tomorrow, of course, that's the class we're doing today with our coded blocks and everything. And we're actually going to be using a website called Edublocks.org, and it actually turns Python into blocks similar to Scratch, okay? So if you're newer, if you use Scratch a lot, if you're newer to Python, this is a great place to start. And of course, we'll look at our code too. We can even have it so we have our blocks and we have our code on the screen at the same time. So we're going to be doing a bunch of projects. I'm a big believer in project learning, so that's what we're going to be doing. Now, tomorrow I'm actually going to be teaching this class again at 11 o'clock. So it's an AM class. I'll be live. Of course, you can watch the replays later. And tomorrow afternoon, we're actually going to be doing a birding class. All our classes here will be on YouTube, and the different libraries I'll post links to the videos as well. Okay, so bird watching, now's a great time to maybe even get a bird feeder and do some backyard birding, and I'll be posting videos about that as well. Okay, tips that I've done, you know, for here being in Georgia and stuff. And usually with that class, we actually at the library do bird watching, excuse me, bird watching, and then we go outside and then we walk around the lake and everything that's out there and find birds. But we'll have to be doing virtual because we're, of course, at home staying safe with our classes and everything. And then on Thursday, we're going to be doing the AM on the Harlem page at 11 o'clock, library resources, and then we're going to be doing another live one at 2:30, library resources in the afternoon as well. Okay, here's kind of a list, and I'll disappear for a second here. here's kind of a list of all our classes for this month. Do realize our previous videos are either up on the certain library Facebook pages using Facebook Live. Of course, now we're all on the GCHRL videos channel here, so make sure that you do like and subscribe. Our libraries are open with limited services and hours. Curbside hold pickup is available. You can go to gchrl.org for details, or of course you can come to the library Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Don't forget to like our Facebook pages for updates, and if you're looking for our YouTube channel, which is this channel, search GCHRL videos and you'll find it pretty quickly. Okay, so let's go back and let's get involved here about what we're going to be covering this afternoon. So the big question is, have you ever used Python? Have you ever coded using Scratch? So let me ask you that. So kind of so I can get a little bit of a test where you're going. Of course, I'm talking to the live people here, and also I'm talking to the people that'll see the video later as well. So let me go ahead and I'll pull up my handout. And I'm also going to post the handout. So if we were in class, which of course we're not doing any on-ground classes right now because everybody's kind of staying safe and home, as you can see. And so we're coming to you with our virtual classes, coming to you. So I'll post the handout near the, well, I may need to go ahead and do that so that y'all can see the code as we go. So while you're answering that question, I'll go ahead and post the handout. And it's uploading. There is a little bit of delay in the chat, so do realize that. I'll get to everybody's question. And okay, so here's our handout here. So I'm just going to kind of follow along with that. And like I said, this is our first time actually teaching this class, so it's very exciting. We got new stuff going on, of course, and we'll see how far we get, and then we can do more of a just coding class with Python. But I'll be honest, I really like the Edublocks. So hopefully the biggest thing that you'll get from this class is basically the fact that you can do basically some block class, you know, some block coding with more than just Scratch. Okay, good. Beginner, that's perfectly fine. You're in the right place. Okay, so most of our stuff here, of course, we're going to do project-based. So we want to do a project, we find the code, and we do that. We're going to do some stuff in Python. So I do recommend, kind of the best thing is to have me on a separate device so you can hear me talking and everything, and then maybe have your main computer in front of you so you can follow along with me. So the goal with this is to basically to get you kind of antiquated to, of course, you know, maybe you've used Python a little bit, and maybe even slowing you down has been basically putting the code in and having the issues with it or trying to learn the code. Our hands-on blocks thing we're going to do in just a second, of course, does the code for us, and we can see the code and we know the code is right, so we can actually focus more on what our project is. Okay, I'm not saying it's end-all be-all, I'm just saying that it's a good start. So let's talk about what we're going to cover. Okay, you know, we're going to talk about what is Scratch, okay, in case someone has never used Scratch before. sign up, log in. We'll talk about that. Anything I talk about today is going to be free, of course, and you don't have to sign in if you don't want to. I do recommend signing into these. They're both free accounts. They're not going to annoy you with anything. Mostly it's just so that you can save your work. That's all it really is, okay? So if you do decide to log in, you'll see my stuff will probably automatically log it in. It's just so I can save the projects and open them up later if I want to. We'll start Scratch. We'll talk about Scratch, so we're going to kind of go back and forth. And we'll also talk about our programming overview. We'll talk about what our Edublocks are and talk a little bit about Python. We won't go into the coding too much. Like I said, our main goal is for people that have used Scratch, know how they kind of Scratch works and kind of compare the two and try to make projects on both, okay? And to kind of think more about the way the code works than maybe the, I guess you'd say, the logistics of the code. All right, so we'll talk about Edublocks. We'll talk about saving our projects, and here's our main projects we're going to try to do today. We're going to try to, of course, do the classic Hello World with both, and then we're going to try Row Your Boat song, which we'll get it to. We'll talk about the difference of basically printing things on screen, and then we'll do a little puzzle here, talk about dog ears, and then we'll do a little random numbers exercise, and then we'll finish up by really working with some code here, trying to look at the code and see if we can create it in the Edublocks program. Okay, a rock paper scissors code that's already in Python, and it's one of those Raspberry Pi projects, so we'll be talking about that. Of course, I'll be including a bunch of resources. And before we get started, does anybody have any questions? Any questions? Okay, so let's go right ahead. All right, so let's talk about Scratch a little bit first, and I'm actually going to disappear. Oh, I've disappeared. We'll talk about Scratch. So what can you do with Scratch? Okay. Scratch is an online programming language. Its main focus is blocks. So basically using the blocks, move them around. The best part about the blocks, they're kind of like Lego pieces. If the code doesn't go together, guess what? The blocks don't go together. It's still a robust programming language, and you'll see when we go to the website that many people make very, very, very complicated and intricate projects. How much does Scratch cost? It's completely free. It's actually hosted by the MIT website. It's a lot of fun. Lots of graphic stuff, lots of animation. Like I said, we have 2 classes I teach. Those videos should still be up, and I'll probably schedule them again for next month. And so hopefully you were able to see the videos last week or join me last week too. And here we are moving on. So basically we have this. It has great for creating projects. We have our coding blocks that come in, and we'll see that it's actually very similar to using Python. It's a visual language. Okay, now let's talk about getting started. Let's go ahead and go to scratch.mit.edu. Now what I'm kind of planning on doing is that I basically am going by the handout, and we'll talk about the handout, and then I'll kind of flip back and forth, okay? So I'll have this open, and then I'll have the handout here too. So the big thing is you can go to scratch.mit.edu, and if you go up here, mine actually automatically logs me in, but if you want to add yourself or have an account, like I said, you don't have to. You can click Join Scratch. It's going to ask for an email and a username, and then you can save your progress. Okay, that's really the big deal about it. Okay, so let's go ahead and let's talk about that. So again, you're going to see that this is similar to the Edublocks. Okay, because we have our Create button, and then we have our Project button where we click up here and we give our title to a project. And we do File and Save. Now, Now, who here has made a Scratch project before? So to get started, I'm going to go ahead up here and I'm going to click Create. And of course, this part, I'm not going to delve into this too much because we're just kind of doing an overview, because it maybe there's somebody that wants to do Python, hopefully that Python is a little bit easier. Edublocks does make it easier, trust me. And once you get some of our concepts down, especially since we're coding, we can do project-based stuff. All right, so click Create. We scroll down. I'll make this as big as possible, but I don't want it to be too big on the screen. So basically, here's our program overview. Okay. Now, when we deal with our Edublocks, we actually, of course, do not have a stage area. That's over here. Okay. Our stage is where our animations are. Python is not really a very visual program. You actually have to get into doing GUIs and also getting into using other libraries like Python games. We're not going to talk about that today. So everything we do with our Edublocks will actually be just text-based. Okay. I know some people go, oh, I know I like the Scratch with the graphics too. Okay, Mac, that's great. Sounds like a good start. Okay, so we have our stage, we have our backdrop, okay? We also have our sprites. The big thing about the Scratch is that when you do code, you have to program it for the individual sprites that you have on stage. We also have our work area, and this is where we'll drag our blocks, which will be similar to the Edublocks page as well, okay? So we have our main blocks over here. One good thing is that you can actually scroll up and down, and it'll show you all. It has them in different categories. It's going to show all of them. It's one thing I don't like about the Edublocks is that it doesn't do that. It just has a few categories, but you can't just scroll through all of them. You have to click the different categories separately. But it's a try. A big thing is that we have different points here. We have pieces. We have ones that are like Pac-Man, which will cover other ones. A little bit later, we'll talk about the Forever one, and then we'll also talk about the Forever or WhileTrue with Python. Okay. So we have things that are repeat. We have say, and Python says print, and we'll cover all that. So they're under different categories, and our Edublocks are similar. So let's talk about what is Python. Okay. Basically, the main Python program you can download from python.org, and I'm going to show that real quick. In our Raspberry Pi class, we deal with that. We're trying to do our physical computing with our little LEDs and all that kind of fun stuff. And I have it loading on the screen. I'm sorry. So basically, this is the main Python shell. Okay. So if you are doing the Python coding without the Edublocks, this is what it is like. And basically, just to cover this kind of quickly here, if you hit File New, here's your shell. You can input certain codes in here. But this is mostly what you do, just like with the Edublocks. You actually have your code here. This is more like a Word program here. And then when you save your file, you hit Run. It'll make sure that it always makes sure that you've given your file a name, a programmer name before you run it, and then it actually sends it over here to the shell and runs it. Okay. With our Edublocks, we'll actually click Run, and it'll turn it over to the trinket, but it's all on the same website. Okay. But this is mainly what Python looks like. There are different editors, and some people prefer one more than the other. But you know, I mean, not editors, but one more, you know, I'm not sure what that's called. You know, I think about that, but anyway, the thing that runs Python code, the engine. But anyway, so that's mainly what it is, and the Edublocks lets us view both and do both at the same time. Okay, it's very popular. One of the things is getting into Python that you may get code from a website, and it may actually need to install libraries to your setup on your computer. A lot of times when we're working with things like Trinket or websites that have basically Python, it's a Python online emulator, it may be limited to what it has. So yeah, I'm not sure. What is Juniper Notebook? Let me see. I'm not familiar with that one. Let's see, does that do? Oh, Jupiter. I didn't say Juniper. I'm not sure about that. Can you what is the website for that? Let's see. I know that like some people actually use Note++. Ah, okay. I actually found a website that talks about that, so that's a good question. It does look like it does support Python. And here's the website I found about that. Has a little bit of introduction. I can post that into the links there. It looks like an interesting article. Like I said, I'm not familiar with that one, but it looks good. It does look like it runs Python. And it does use Python 3. All right, so I posted the article if you want a little more details about that, but that was a good question. Okay, so lots of programming language. I've seen so many people that talk about they feel like Python is limited in what it can do, but then the people that are really hardcore, like into C and C++ and everything, but then they actually will jump in and say, hey, but I think Python's the best place to learn coding and thinking about that in that way. And I go, okay, great. So we are still on the right track, even if Python can be limited. There are some websites, and I've got resources that they can make it into games and stuff, but not as easy as Scratch, of course. But we want to go beyond Scratch. That's kind of our goal, is to get more into coding. Okay. All right. So let's talk about Edublocks. Okay. What's the big thing about Edublocks? So I showed you the Python. Okay. The normal, just Python app. Is this right here? It runs your code, hello world kind of stuff, which we're about to do. But if you go to edublocks.org, it's actually a blocks program similar to Scratch. I think you're going to really like it, to be honest. And even some just little small projects, I'm like, well, I don't have to worry about if I miscoded something, or if I put I didn't put it the quote mark in the right place, because it does it for you. But of course you have to play around with the program. So the big thing is it'll display the code. We do get to see what the code is. Okay, the syntax. So we don't have to install anything. It's all based on the web browser. It is Python 3. One big thing is if you see any code that says 2, some people will talk about 2 does this, but once they come out with a newer version, we all have to move towards that. It does do we won't talk about it today, but there is the little drawing turtles programs. You'll see a lot of that. And then, of course, it does have a Python text view as well. So it will draw things. It's great. And of course, the big thing is that it's free. Okay. All right, so let's get started. Let's go to Edublocks, and I haven't closed the previous thing because like I said, we're gonna jump back and forth. Okay. So edublocks.org. Okay. So let's go to edublocks.org and let's click where it says Start Creating. Like I said, you can sign up for a free account if you want to save your stuff. If you don't, that's okay too. Okay. Nothing you have to sign up to do today. It's just if you want to save your, your code and stuff. All right. So we're going to click where it says Start Creating. It's going to ask us which version we want to see. We want to see the Python 3 version. My voice went up for some reason. Python 3 version. All right. So let's do Start Creating. And then it'll pop up and ask us, we want to do Python 3. And then here we are. Now, I will tell you this. I've had it where if I actually use my zoom in, let's see. Oh, I know what it is. The resolution is different on this monitor. Anyway, on my main laptop, it actually compresses the whole menu down to like 3 little lines. I thought that was my zoom, but it might have been my resolution. Anyway, so you might get a full menu here, and also you might get 3 little lines, and click there and it'll show you the same menu. Okay. So if you've logged in, if you've made an account, just like in Scratch, you can click here where it says Untitled. Okay. And then type in the whatever you want to call your project. And like I said, I have on my main computer, I actually just show 3 lines, not the full menu. Okay. And then just click Save. Now let's go ahead and let's play around with our first project here. So I've got Scratch on one window and I've got Edublocks. Now, if you've never seen Edublocks, I'll ask that, who has used Edublocks before? So if this is our whole area, just kind of imagine this is basically a Scratch without the stage area with our characters. So if we go over here and boom, look, we have blocks. Ooh, yay. So we have our little blocks, and they're even listed in different categories. Math, and here's even the turtle one. We won't talk about that. Maybe in the future we will. Graphs, and it talks about the random codes and processing as well. But we also have our variable section and our import. Okay. Okay, so this is our main coding area here. Like I said, we can save, and when we do our code, we're actually going to click where it says blocks, and it'll switch back and forth from our Python code to seeing our blocks, and we want to run our code, we hit run. Okay. Similar to Scratch, but let's go ahead, let's minimize this, and let's go ahead with our first project. So our first project is the classic Hello World. Okay, most people that have done any kind of coding have done that, of course. So how do we do Hello World in Scratch? Well, in Scratch we actually drag the say hello, so let's do that. So we go to our looks category and we drag our say hello. Okay. And now I want to actually add the word world. So we just click there and then we just start typing world. So it says hello world. Now in Scratch, we can actually click any of our code and it'll just run it, even if it's in small pieces. Okay, it'll run it. We can just click the code and it'll run it. But the main feature of Scratch is that we can actually have it so certain codes run all at the same time. Okay, so it has a green flag up here run the code, but we don't have a start when the green flag starts. So let's go ahead and add that. So add when flag is clicked. So that is under these two. I always get confused for some reason. And yes, I actually feel like that events is the green flag. It's like it almost is a control. But anyway, so basically I go up here, and now when we click the green flag, it says hello world. Okay, so pretty easy, pretty standard. Okay, the hello world. I do not have it set so it's 2 seconds. I want it to mirror exactly what we're going to do in the Edublocks, or Edublocks. So if I hit the stop sign, then it stops. Okay. Now let's go to our Edublocks. Okay. And this is kind of our goal here. It's going to run it on the Trinket website, but it'll all be in the same window. And we just want it to say hello world. Okay, so let's go down here, and here's our final code, what it should look like. Let's go down here to our Edublocks. Now, under statement, we actually want it to say, we want to choose the one that says print. Okay. And it already has a one that doesn't just say hello, it says hello world on it. So we actually don't have to make any changes. Now, I'm a big believer in trying a different code. So if you do complete something that I'm talking about, if we were in class, I would say, okay, change the code and run it again. Say something else. Make it a different color if we're dealing with Scratch, colors or whatever. Do something different and try it again, because if you do a code just like it is in a recipe book, and then the next time you cook it, you should do it the same way as the recipe book to begin with, but then when you do it again, you should feel comfortable enough to be able to make any changes you want to. And I want this to feel the same way as well. Okay, so let's go to our blocks here. Let's go to the one called statements. One thing I don't like about this is because they're all broken up. So if you are looking for something, or if you're just trying to get an idea of, and the good thing is about the Edublocks in general is because when we're using Python coding, we just kind of stare at a blank screen, don't we? But at least with this, you can jump around and go, well, now how should I say? So let's do statements. And we're going to go to the one, of course, it says print hello world. So let's drag that out there. Okay. And now all we need to do is to run our code. Now, like I said, on my computer, it made it the 3 lines. But on this monitor, because I actually am using 2 monitors, it doesn't. So all we got to do up here is click run. Okay. Now, before we do that, how do we see our code? I can actually go up here and click where it says blocks, and it'll switch and show me the code. So the code for print is print, open parentheses, quote mark, hello world, quote mark, close parentheses. Now, big one here is, do I have to have the singular quote or the double quote? It actually does not matter. It gets more important later with certain codes, but for most codes, at least all the ones we're using today, double quotes is fine. Okay, so let's do run. It'll open in Trinket. It runs the code, and now it should say hello world. Okay, so we have actually done our first Edublocks with Python. Now, the cool part about this is, if you want to, so things change. And you say, hey, I just want to go straight to the code and edit. The only thing, you can do that, but I have had an issue where it doesn't actually change it in the main section here. Okay? So do be aware of that. Okay? That's interesting. Oh, hang on. Oh, so when I went back, it changed it. So that worked there, but then when I go back to the blocks, it goes back to what the block said. Okay. Well, I guess that could be good or bad. The good thing is I can jump into Python, make some messy changes here, run it, and if it didn't work, then I could go back to my blocks and reprogram it. But if we did want to make some basic changes, it's best to do it in the blocks. And then there's my code because I changed it on the blocks. So when I hit run, it'll be there too. Now, the other thing is as well, I can use Edublocks, make the code I want, and then go up here, and if I can get my mouse up there, I can copy it. Okay, right click copy, select what I want, and then pull up my Python program and paste it. I could paste it here too, but I prefer this most of the time. I'll say run. It's going to ask me what I want to call it, and I'll just say hello world. Now I'm just using this as an example of being able to go back and forth if you want to. Okay, so could you use Edublocks for what you want and then save it to a different program? Yes, you could. Could you use it in the normal Python? Yes, you can. So if you could do all your coding here, copy it, paste it into here, and then you have it in the, I don't want to say real Python, but you know, on your hard drive Python. Okay. Of course, I can go up here at any time and say hello world, and then hit save. Okay. That's because I'm logged in. All right, so we've completed our first project on both now, didn't we? Now, did that seem too obscure or strange? Hopefully not. So our goal again is to fit people that really, really like Scratch, which I do as well. And the funny thing about it is I even see ways that Scratch could become more robust and even more of a programming language. One thing that probably holds them back is that you can't go in and edit the code that I've seen by hand. Maybe there's a way to do that. There's probably some website that knows how to do that, and it kind of holds it back a little bit. But having graphics, oh man, that is the best. All right, so let's go ahead and we're actually going to learn about a forever loop, okay? And then we're going to do our forever loop with Python. So the goal here again is that we're doing something in Scratch, and then we're going to do it in Python, okay? So let's go ahead and let's make this here, and we're going to talk about there's different ways to do the same thing, okay? So we pop up, we need to have our click the green flag, and I'm going to go up and hit File, New, and with my other, I'm going to hit New as well, so that'll be blank. I can switch back. Okay, so we need to go ahead and drag our when flag is clicked. When flag is clicked. Now, the interesting thing about this is, remember, we actually do have to tell the computer to wait, okay? And in Python, we have to tell it to sleep. Okay, go to sleep, little boy, little girl, go to sleep. So we have to tell it to go to sleep for a second, and then it goes to the next code and does it that way. Now, the interesting part about this is in the Scratch, we're going to do row, row, row your boat. We're not going to do the whole song. I just thought about we could do the birthday song, but you know, just a simple few little things here is fine. So we want to break it up. And we also want it to show, because on the screen, if I tell it to do row 1 second, row 1 second, row, it actually looks like nothing happened. So actually adding the row again makes it look like it's reading it out, and then at the end it just switches over and says your boat. Now when you do the Python, you'll see the row on each on individual rows of lines, okay, lines going down the page, so then it makes more sense, okay? So let's go ahead and do that. So we want to do say. So looks, we're not going to do the 2 second. I want it to be just as easy and as close to Python as we can get. Let's change hello to row. and then we want to add, where are we? Wait 1 second. So drag that there, and then we need to add, where are you? There you are. We need to add row, but this time row, and if we preview that, it's just so it looks like it's not the same thing. It looks like it's adding another word. So in our mind we see row, okay? All right, and then let's add another second. I actually had it at half a second. How do you do half a second? 0.5, of course. But it seemed a little fast. So row, and then we need to do 3 rows, and then your boat. And we do need to add, because we're going to do a loop here, okay? We do need to add 1 second at the end. So we add our forever loop, okay? It will go back, and it won't, there'll still be a pause in between this and the top row, okay? All right, so row. I think that works pretty good. I recommend, of course, you're doing exactly what I'm doing, and then play around with it and change it to something else, okay? Just so then you know the recipe and can do it any changes you want to do. Okay, so let's do our say hello. So let's add your boat. All right, so let's click our flag. Row your boat. There you go. And then we want to add, because we're going to make it a loop, we want to add our 1 second in there, okay? So of course if we do it now, we won't notice anything. Oh, wait. I think this should actually make this disappear. Let's see. Row your boat. Nope, it did not. Okay. There's ways we can cut that off. One of the ones is that actually using the 2 second one, which is pretty common. Okay, so now let's talk about adding our forever loop, okay? So we actually want it to say row your boat forever, okay? A lot of the times people will do the 10, but we want to try to make this as close to Python beginning as possible. So that's what we're going to do. Whoop, went too far. So let's go ahead and let's grab the control, and there's one called forever. And if I move it in the right place, remember it's like a big Pac-Man. If I move it in the right place, right here, it should cover everything except for, of course, the green flag. When I let go, there you go. So there's our forever loop, okay? And I'm going to zoom in, not too far, just so it's bigger on the screen. So here's our forever loop, row, and let's click our flag, and he should just keep saying row your boat for forever, okay? Now, of course, we had to add the second here at the end, so it pauses when it goes back up to the top. Row your boat, row, and he will not stop until I tell him to stop, okay? Now, let's go ahead and let's talk about making this in Python. So here's our Python, and I'm trying to, there you go. Oh, come on, there you go. Is that a little better? All right, so we actually have to do something and import something from the library, which is known as time, okay? So with Python, we don't ever have to add a start flag or anything like that. But when we click run, that's when the code runs. But that's similar to clicking the flag, so kind of have that in your mind too, all right? The big thing is we need to do an import code from our library, which is time. Time, it shows it right here, time, sleep. Time, sleep, from the code from the time library. Now, the big thing about importing code from libraries, and like I said earlier, you may get a project that may be a certain version of Python, or if you're using a separate program or whatever, that it may not have that library installed, and you may have to install that separately, okay? What does the library do? It gives you more skills. I guess it's kind of like the Amazon Alexa things. It says you can add skills. Well, you can add more skills to Python too. Okay, so we're actually going to use a WhileTrue in a second, but let's go ahead and build this one. So first we need to import time. We're going to do imports. We have time, we have math, we have random, and I'm not even sure what that one is. I haven't used that one. So import time, okay, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit here. I don't think that'll be too big. Okay, so import time, and then remember print is just like showing something on the screen, or say in Python. So we want, where is it? Statements. We want print hello, and we're going to change that to row. Now we don't have to do the row, 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 row. We just have to do where it says row here, and then you'll see it jumps down to the next line as it runs through the code, okay? So time sleep 1 second, okay? Hopefully this is starting to click in your mind a little bit, okay? You go, oh, well, you know, once I grasp this whole time thing, and then time sleep 1 second, okay, that is similar to the wait, okay? So we're starting to get it, okay? Time sleep row, time sleep 1 second. Of course, you can click in the one and make it half a second if you wanted to, or longer. Row, time sleep, and then your boat, and then we're going to add 1 more second at the end. So when we do our forever loop, okay, it'll actually be accurate. So hello, need to change that to row. And let's look at our code real quick. So here's import time, meaning import the time library. Here's our print on the screen, meaning put something on the screen. Row is in double quotations. Here's our sleep for 1 second, and there's our print, okay? All right, so we need to do time sleep, and then we need to do row. Just a little side note here, if you do click on anything and it turns blue like this, that means you don't have to click again. You don't have to hit backspace or anything. You can actually just start typing and it'll erase it, and that works with, that's pretty universal with Windows in general. If I click up here, it'll turn blue, and then I can type in whatever I want there as well, okay? All right, so row, time, row, time, row. So row, 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 we need a time, and then we need a statement, and because we're going to do a loop, we need to add 1 more time in there, okay? And there's our code. Now I'm not going to, maybe I should. I can actually go to where it says extras up here, and there is a button I can click. It says split view. That's extras, split view, and that's this. I think for our purposes that might be okay. Just remember, if you make any changes over here, it doesn't always, I'll tell you this, I haven't had it change things over here. So this really is a here to there one-way street, okay? But I may leave that there so that we're covering Python at the same time. Okay, so let's go ahead and run our code. Go up here and click run. Row, row, row your boat. How about that? I know that may look a little small on the screen. I don't see a way that I can actually make that bigger. If you want to run it again, row, row, row your boat. Now, the other thing we're going to do is we're going to add a loop. So let's go back and add a forever loop. This is my actual code here. Now, one of the big things about a forever loop is called WhileTrue. Okay. Now, we'll actually use this in the Raspberry Pi class. We'll do this to try to get our blinking LED light that we have on our breadboard. using our GPIO pins on our Raspberry Pi. And there you go. And I had the handout in the previous class about that. But anyway, I lost what I was talking about. Oh, anyway, so the big thing is we're having to type it in by hand. One of the things that will trip up students is making sure that while is lowercase, true is uppercase, and if you are going back, like we have this code here, okay, if you were doing this by hand, you have to go back, make the true capital, and then everything here has to indent. Now, if I'm actually typing it just using the normal Python here, if I can spell, when I hit enter, it actually will automatically indent. Do you see that? So make sure that it is indented. All right, so what our goal is this. We're going to do the same thing, and then when we go to our code, and we should, because we're doing the split view, we should be able to see it actually happen, which would be kind of neat. All right, so let's go to the loops. Okay, the loops. While true is what we want. Does this look similar? Yes, it does. Here's our Pac-Man. We're going to move it to where it engulfs everything. I might be able to do this in one move, hopefully. Well, there you go. I just got to get in the right place. Now let go, and then boom. Look, everything here is now indented, okay? Showing that the while true loop is ready and set, and it's just like our forever loop that we had set up in Python, okay? Excuse me, in Scratch. Okay. Now let's hit the run button. Row, 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 your boat, row, row. Now, as long as you had that pause in there, or it's going to just kind of run to the next thing. Now, how do I make it stop? If you're actually using this Python, when it's running it in the shell, you actually hold down Control and C key, and that will put a keyboard halt. But with this, I can just go up here and hit exit, and it'll stop, or it'll keep doing that forever. Okay. Okay. Did that kind of make a little more sense? Connect up that we can do projects in Python that are similar, okay, to Scratch. Okay. So I'm going to call this row forever. And I'll hit save. There we go. Okay, now, any questions about this before we move on? Okay, so let's go into our next project. I won't close it yet in case y'all ask a question. So here we are. Here's our forever loop. We did it. Now let's move on to our next project. Our next project is YourName, and we're going to add a variable, okay? I will say that you could probably play around with Python, play around with Scratch, do all kinds of animations, doing all kinds of stuff, and never even mess with variables. If you are doing games, in our gaming class, we actually added 2 variables. The Ghost game, we had a score, and we also had another variable, which was our countdown timer. Okay, so that's our variables. So what exactly are variables? In the easiest way, I can say it pretty quickly, is that it's basically a placeholder in memory. It has a value. It can change because we can make other things change. Let's say if we say we want it to be the variable to equal number 10, then we can do other codes. So every second the number goes down by 1. So a variable is something that hangs out in memory, and then we can actually edit and make changes to it, okay, using other code. The name can only hold one thing at a time. That's why you make more than one variable if you have more than one thing going on. And the big thing is that the values can either be numbers or it can be letters, okay? So there's a whole thing about it connecting up basically what a string is, which we'll talk about that a little bit later. So in Scratch, here we're going to just try to follow the directions here, and then I'll give you the final code. Okay. So in Scratch, first thing we need to do is when the flag is clicked. So let's go ahead to Scratch, and I'm going to go up here and I'm going to hit. Oh, I'll save it too. I'm going to call it row forever. Hit File and hit Save now. Okay, and I'm going to go up here and File and hit New. And with our new project in the Edublocks, I'm going to hit New as well. Hold on. Oh, do I have to close that? Oh, when I click back, it disappeared. Okay, so we hit New there. And if you mess with the Edublocks a long time, that's great. I'm still kind of new to it, so. All right, so let's go ahead and let's, when the flag is clicked, when the flag is clicked, ask what's your name and wait. And this is that thing where we have to search the blocks to figure out where that is. Let's see. As I think that, yeah, under looks. Let's see. There it is. And it is a block that says what's your name, because that's kind of like a starter project. Of course, you can name it anything you want. So let's drag ask. Okay. Now, it's kind of already given us a variable already created. Okay. That's answer here. All right. Let's keep going. Click make a variable, choose for all sprites, and name it name. Okay. So let's click down here where it says variables, and let's do make a variable. Okay, there is a default variable that, so if you want to play around with this and you're only doing one, that's perfectly fine. All right, all this stuff's already here hanging out for you to mess with, but let's make one so it'll make sense. Excuse me. So it'll make sense. So we click here, it'll say for this sprite, for for all sprites, or for this sprite only. So we're going to call it name, and we're not doing any other sprites. So let's call it name, and then boom, we'll see something called name. Now the first thing that happens up here, and I don't think I have it on the handout, that instruction. Let's see. I'll just add it right now. Okay, so we made a variable. Okay, we did for all sprites, and we want to uncheck the box. And why do we want to do that? Well, it's because we don't need it to be on the stage. Okay, so if we uncheck name, it'll disappear. Okay, there's other things you could do too. You can make it hide or something like that, but we don't need to do that. So let's go ahead and let's add say hello. Say hello. Okay, going along pretty good so far. So right now, if we hit the flag, this happens. What is your name? There's a text box that pops up. Okay, and if I type something in, I say Alex and hit enter, and then it goes to the next code because this doesn't have anything yet, and it says hello. Okay. All right, now we're going to embed two join operators. Okay, so it's going to look like two double circles. So let's go back and let's look for those. Let's start with that to begin with. So under, let me see. There it is. So under operator, if we scroll down here, we'll see one that says join. Okay. So if we drag two of these over here, so what we really want it to do, we want it to say, hello, my name, because now it knows my name. And then I want it to say, well, I know we're going to do that in just a second. So we want to embed two join operators, and we want it to say, hello, my name, and then nice to meet you, all in one sentence. Now, you may need to add a space or two. I think usually after the hello, we have to add a space. Okay. So let's go ahead, and all we got to do is, because these are round, of course. I'm just covering this because you may have never done this before with the bubbles or putting stuff in. I don't know what else to call them bubbles. I'm sure they have a more scientific name. But I'm going to drag that there where it says join. And I'm actually going to drag this one on the second one. So it will never say join. It's just here, here, and here. Now I'm going to click here and say hello. And I'm actually going to add a space because I think that does need a space. Now let's go back to my variable, and its name is what I want to put. Hold on a second. Let's see. What am I name, feature? Yeah, okay. Oh, duh. It's not the name thing I need. I need that says where it says answer. Duh. Okay, hold on. We didn't need to do that one. But anyway, so let's go ahead and let's go to, it says, what is your name? Let's drag this because I told you there was a variable already made. We'll put it there. And then we didn't have to make that variable because that's not for this project. But anyway, let's click here. And I'm actually going to add a space. And I'm going to say nice to meet you. Of course, this is the first time teaching this, so this class specifically. So, you know, there's going to be a little bit of difference and stuff. Okay, so, yeah, if we check that, see, that'll be there because it's a variable. All right, so when I click the flag, it should ask me what my name is, and then wait. And then it's going to say, remember, join isn't there. Hello, the answer that I did up here, and then nice to meet you. All right, so flag, what is your name? I'm going to say Alex. I hit enter, or I should be able to click the, yeah, I can click the thing. Now it says, hello, Alex, nice to meet you. Okay, and that's a variable. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's work on our next thing. All right, so in Python, let's go ahead and do this project. Now, note, we do have to create a variable, okay, with this. Maybe, I'll think about that later. Anyway, so let's go ahead and let's go to Edublocks. And what we want to do is, we actually want to add a variable, okay. We want to call it name. So go to variables. There aren't any variables. Let's say create, and we're going to call it name. Okay. I'm going to say okay. And now we have this. Now it actually does have, anytime I click on the little drop down, it actually will automatically drag it to the screen. But I just wanted to show you that it has a little drop down here. I can rename it. I can delete it. I can even make a new variable if I want to. Here's my other drop down, equals. Okay, and the other one's on there, which we won't talk about that right now. But here's my variable here. Let's go back to our handout. So we want name, and we want to do one called input. Okay, what is your name? And this is the actual code here. Okay, so create a variable, drag name over, and we have statement. And it's an input, okay? So let's drag input, and it already is what is your name. And I'm going to drag it, and I'm going to put it right there, and I'm actually going to do the split screen thing because I think we did pretty well with that last time. So name equals input, okay? So that's our variable name is name. Input, what is your name, okay? Now, we actually want it to print on the screen, don't we? Now, I'm actually going to cheat real quick, and I'm just going to add the name, so it's just say print, and then we actually put it on there, okay? And then we'll do our full part to kind of, you'll get the gist of it on there. All right, so we need, oh wait, which one do we need? We need to print statement, and I believe it actually needs to be the print that says variable, okay? So it says print, there's two here, there's the print world, and it does need to be the one that says print variable. And see if I can show the difference on that. I think it's just the quote marks, yeah, the quote marks. But if you're going to do a variable, then you need to have it say variable, because it'll put too many quote marks and it won't work. Okay, so, and if I actually add the name variable to here, and we run our code, it'll ask me what my name is, and then it should just say, and I hit enter, name, okay? Because that's all we have. All we have is it saying print and print the variable, okay? Now, let me get rid of that for right now. What we want it to do, and I do want to add to make sure that that's a print variable. But anyway, I should be able to tell that later. So here's the hello. So we actually want to add, see how this is embedded twice, where it's like a plus, okay? Here's our encode is here. Let's go on to the handout part. And we actually want the statement. You see this? Where it's 1 plus something else, okay? We're not actually adding things together. And we put that in there. It's interesting because the scratch one I go about here and it goes in, but I actually put my mouse over it and it does that. Now, again, we're making a sentence, so I actually want 2 of those. And if I add it here, right where my mouse is, not the tip, then it should look like that. And there's our code. Print. Okay, now let's grab the variable name. And let's put it, I will tell you this, I did have trouble with this doing the handout, and if you do have to pull this out and then put it back, but the main thing is you just want it to look like this, and there's our code right there, plus name, okay? So let's click here and let's say hello, and I might have to add a space in there, I'm not 100% sure, I won't do it right this second. And then I'll say, nice to meet you. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and run our code. It says, what is your name? I'm going to say Alex. Enter. Yeah, I did need to put a space in there if you see. Nice to meet you. And I'll do exit. So I need a space. So I'm going to click here and just hit space. And I'm going to click here and I'll add a space just like the previous. So run. What is your name? Alex. Hit enter. Hello Alex, nice to meet you. Okay. Alright, so that's basically how variables work. Okay, we have our input, it gives us a name of something, and then we can put it someplace else. Okay. Now, since we have that one, I'm going to do that as a name. And of course, you can change it to anything. Person asks anything, and then there's your, whatever you want to call it. Okay, so I'm going to say, I think I'll just call this name. Hit save. So any questions about that? Hopefully this gave you some ideas. I know we went a little further of adding a name in there and then making it kind of equal everything out. All right, so let's minimize that. And what is it? Oh, I need to make sure that's print variable. I'll write that right there. All right, so that'd be just kind of like a side note. Okay, so, and I also need to make sure there's a space in there. I can actually see the code has a space right there. All right, now this is kind of a fun one. We're going to talk about what strings are, okay? This is one about being dog ears, okay? Hopefully the using the Edublocks, you kind of get how quick that is. So instead of me up there worrying about if I had a space in somewhere, if I put in the wrong thing, it's kind of like click, 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 and then, you know, it's kind of good to go. So there you go right there. I hope this actually gets more robust and stuff, and they add some more tutorials and stuff to it. I think it's a great thing to use. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and hit new. We found out that if I don't have the thing open, then it doesn't reset, which is interesting. All right, now this one is just going to be in Python, okay? And I've got the random, yeah, and then we got the random number one. So this one is just in Python, okay? So like I said, I won't get into it too much. Mostly that it just kind of, so when you were using the different labels, you kind of get a little bit of an insight of what something is, okay? So we actually have the big thing is strings. Strings are like letters, okay, or characters, and integers are numbers, okay? And at the very end, I'll show you that a little bit later. Anyway, so these are strings, and they actually kind of stand for, I don't think we're dealing with, let me see. Yeah. Strings or str. And then integers are int. Okay. All right, so that's mainly what you need to know, okay? So we have our type, hello, and asking it what it is, okay? A big one here also is anytime we see any kind of hashtag, do realize that that's like comments, okay? And the program does not run that, the number sign hashtag. So a lot of the times you'll have in the code about someone basically, let me see if I can say that the right way. So someone basically is giving some comments in there so that you can know what's going on. All right. All right. So basically, I do have it down here, but let's try to do it by hand. I don't actually know this one by heart, so this one will be kind of interesting for me too. So the big thing is we actually want it to pop up and ask us the age of a dog. Okay. How old is the dog? Okay, so we give it a years, maybe it's 4 or something, and it basically is going to convert into an integer. Okay, so numbers. Okay, so the dog age with the capital A will equal the dog age with the lowercase. What is that? It's the anyway. I'm thinking about it in a minute. Anyway, the line. The line thing, and then it's going to calculate the dog's age in dog's years because it's going to do dog age equals dog age, the integer, times 7. Okay, so that asterisk actually means multiply. Okay, I did have a little bit of a, I was going to do one where we dealt with math a little bit, but those are pretty easy and it's kind of self-explanatory for most of it. But no, it's actually in the resources where you can go to the Python beginner website that talks about that. But there's our math right there. Okay. All right. Now we need to turn the results. So our answer comes up, the dog age. Dog age needs to be turned into an integer. Okay. And because it's a number, and then we actually need to calculate it. So dog years equals dog age times 7. Okay. And then we need to turn dog year back into words so we can do an output. Okay. Or a string for dog years. Okay. So the output should be the dog is, and then we're going to add dog year, years old. Okay. So here's our first variable. Here's our second variable, and here's our third variable, and we have to make a fourth one, okay? So we have dog age age with a capital A, dog years, okay, which we're actually going to be using. Where's my dog years? What do I do with my dog years? Yeah, there it is right there. Dog years here, okay? All right, so let's go ahead and get started, and I will be flipping back and forth because trying to figure out, remember some of that is maybe I should name those a little bit better so it helps make remember it. Anyway, so we first start off, and like I said, here's our code. We're going to try to make it with the Edublocks, and I actually have the code down there. Okay, so first let's do dog age. Copy. Okay, I'll just do it by hand, I guess. I'll do. So first, let's go and let's make an integer. Oh, excuse me, a variable. Help me. Dog age. And then go back. Dog age. Dog years. And dog year. I want to make sure there's not a space there. Okay, so first thing we need to do is we need to do dog age equals input, how old is the dog, okay? And that is the lowercase, yes. So variables, dog age. Whoop, I did not mean to click that, hold on. Variables, so drag this one, so dog age with lowercase. Input is how old is the dog. So we need to do our statement, input, how old is the dog. And here's our doing our code over there for us. All right. Dog age with a capital A. We need to change it to an integer. Hang on. Dog age equals. Okay, hold on. No, what I want. Yeah, so I need to be dog age. Dog age equals integer dog age. Okay, now I got it. Okay, so I go here, and it's dog age with a capital A. Dog age, and we need to do integer, and we need the integer to be dog age lowercase. Okay. This is when I like drag the wrong dog thing. It's completely messed up. Okay, so the next one we want to do is we want to do dog years equals dog age. All right, I think that's years. Yes, years. Equals dog years equals dog age times 7. Oh, I need to, where's my thing? Did I have the times on? Nope. Okay. Hang on. I feel like that's wrong for some reason. Hold on. Dog years equals dog age times 7. Yeah, okay. And then it's the capital age times 7. All right, so dog years equals dog age times 7. Okay. Now, if we keep all that in our mind. Okay, so basically what we want to do is we want the dog age is how old is the dog. We have our input. Dog age with a capital A is now turned into an integer for dog age, so it can be number. And then we actually have to turn it back. So dog year, what is this? I'm making it more complicated than it should be. So dog year equals string dog years. Where's my string? String, and it is dog years no, there you go. See, sometimes I have to reset that and then try again, so don't get frustrated with that. All right, now our output is print this dog. Okay, now remember what we did before? We actually had to add the words in there, but this has commas on it. Let's see. I don't know if that actually matters. Okay, so we need print. Oh, is this a variable? No, it's not a variable. So print this dog is in years. All right, so let's scroll down. I'll cheat here at the bottom. Well, I wanted to say this dog is. Okay, so apparently in the one I was doing, I didn't do that part, but anyway, we'll do it the other way first to begin with and make sure it's the same thing. Okay, so we need, and then we'll add the other. So we need it to have where it says dog year. Okay. So statement, oh, excuse me, dog year. Okay, now, so I'll do that one and then we'll add to it. Okay. So we actually have, it comes in, it pops up, it says, how old is the dog? Okay. And then it pops in and it changes this to an integer so it can be a number. our answer, okay? And then it pops back, it multiplies it, and then switches it back, and then it gives us an answer. So let's do run. And if I haven't missed anything, which I probably have, I'll say the dog is 7, all right? All right, so where did I mess up here? Let's see. Doesn't it need dog year? All right. Oh, I love the troubleshooting. Isn't troubleshooting great? It's dog year. Yeah, dog year. Print dog year. Oh, wait. Does that need to be... Okay, so that is... And it's dog year, isn't it? No. Okay. If I say 7. Okay, there we go. Didn't have it set as a variable, so it had the quote marks on there. Sorry about that. Okay, so check in the chat and make sure y'all don't have any questions. Okay, now let's try to do it so it does actually answer the question like my handout shows, okay? So I need it to, let's see, what did we do before? See, I'm even blanking on exactly what I did before. Okay, I need to have the name plus thing like this again. So print, and then the plus and the plus. Okay. So, but they have commas there. I think there's a if you don't do commas, you can do the other one. Let's see. See, we're learning together. All right, so I'm going to take that off, and I think that if I do here, and then I have, no, hang on, I'm blanking for a second. I need it to have more. I need it to have the, yeah, okay. So I need to have this, and I need to have it embedded. And I think I can choose comma. So if I go, wait, what does it say? The dog is, whoop. The dog is, and then we put our, oh good, it just popped in there. And then we put our, it's dog year, and at dog year, let me make sure, dog year. Dog year. And then we need to say, whoop, years old. So it'd be the dog is number years old. Period. All right, now I'm just going to go ahead and run that. Uh-oh. Doesn't like something. Okay, it does need to be, okay, because that had a quote in. Okay, so I have to get rid of the double quotes. It does not like the double quote. It wants it to be a variable because this already has a quote. So now it should work. Let me zoom out because now I'm squishing the edge there. And it has how much? I'll say 7, and then boom. The dog is 49 years old. Okay. Did I put a space in there? Yeah, there's a space. Okay, so I need to get rid of that space. How old's the dog? The dog is 7. The dog is 49 years old. There you go. And it looks great. And I'm actually going to, you'll actually see me fix it live. That's hilarious. Okay, so I'm actually going to fix the handout live. That's funny. There you go. Now it all matches, doesn't it? Okay. Very, very good. And you got to see a live change too. So I'm going to call this dog ears. And hit save. Okay, any questions about that? See, we're all learning together. All right, now this is one that, and it actually looks like we may not have time to get to the rock, paper, scissors one, but I do have the code here, and mainly the thing is trying to get used to doing the code, and it makes a little bit more sense, okay? So I do have the link and everything for that. So let's go ahead, we'll do this project, and then I'll point out some of the resources and stuff, and hopefully this kind of got you started in going the right direction. Okay, so let's talk about random, okay? So we actually want to do a code. So in Scratch, how do we make it do random? Well, we're going to use the variable that's already there. We're not going to make a new variable. We're going to use the one that says my variable, okay, to pick random. So let's do that. And I'm going to do new here. And then we'll go back to Scratch. And we will do new here. All right, so we add the flag. Okay, we're going to use the variable that's there. We could create a new variable if we wanted to. You know, you can call it whatever you want. But we're going to use the variable that's already there. Let's go down to variables. We're going to use the one that says set my variable to, and we're going to get a random one on here that's pick random 1 through 10. Okay. Oh, hold on. All right, so pick random 1 through 10 is what we want. That's the operator. And we go pick random 1 through 10. We're going to drag it in there. Again, we can we call the variable anything we want. We click here and say make variable, and there you go. Okay, so set variable to pick random 1 through 10. And if I hit the code right now, it'll pick, but it won't give us an answer. So we need to go say my variable, and I actually need to, because it's not going to be the same as the code down here. So instead of it say for 2 seconds, I actually want it to be just say, okay? So I may fix that one as well. Let's go to looks, say, okay? We want to say what? We want to say my variable. Okay, here we go. 7. And then I have to stop. I get it again. All right, I don't have to stop. I just hit the flag and it'll do it again. 3, 7, 1, 2, 3. Now you can actually make a game out of this, which is actually pretty fun. And then it actually becomes, you could technically take this just a little bit of it and guessing what a random number is and basically turn it into basically like a little gambling game kind of thing. Just about as good as someone playing something like a a slot machine or something, where it pops up and asks you to do a number. So basically that's what I have a little bit further down here in the code, and it deals with my variable, and then I make a variable called guess. Okay, so guess, it'll ask, and there's the answer to the question it asks. Guess, pick a random number 1 through 10, and then it pops up. Oh, hang on. So we have this, we have the weight. That's the same one that said, what is your name? Change that. Here's the answer that's connected with that. I made a variable called guess. So the variable, it pops up, says, what is your guess? The variable guess, we have it set to my variable, okay, to pick 1 through 10. This is basically what we're done right now. Save variable for 2 seconds, so it tells the number for 2 seconds. And then here's our if guess variable equals my variable, which is the computer one, the random number, then say you win for 2 seconds. Okay, now let's go ahead and let's try to recreate this using our, and like I said, we're running low on time here, but we can handle this part. Okay, and I'll definitely give you all the resources and stuff too. So our basically main thing is we're trying to get it to choose something random. Okay, so we have our random, we actually have our number is equal to randint. Okay, we're going to have it import randint, pick a number between 1 and 10, and then it's going to print the number. Okay, so let's whoop. So we want to import random, and we want it to, what do we want it to do? Am I actually supposed to type over there? I think it does it. Okay, I think I did this before and I didn't have to type in the randint or whatever. Okay, so all right, so we need to do a variable called number. Okay, so number is our number. Number equals what? Number equals randint 1 through 10. Okay. Where is my, there it is. Oh, it actually added the word random to there. Okay, so we're going to do print number. This may or may not work. We're going to see. Yeah, it's a variable. We will see if this works. I may have actually chosen the wrong thing, but we're going to see. It's going to give me an error. Yeah, absolute error. Okay, so random. It did not like where it says random on there. And the top didn't have the, let's see. Because you got random choice, randint, random seed, random shuffle. But if I actually go up here, and I did change my code. Let me make sure. sure that's right. No, didn't like that either. All right, so let me make sure my original code is actually right, because that does happen. Popped up just fine. Okay, so what did I not like that we did? Oh, okay. I put a dash in there. Hold on. That might have been on me. Yeah, I sure did. I put a dash in there. Okay, random randent. There we go. Okay, now, ow. So basically, this actually came in here, and because it is telling it, because we didn't have to have the from on there, so our original code, where's my original code? So original code, import randent. Now because, oh, let me see something else. It may not need, let me make sure that works in the main Python too. Yeah. Interesting. Random randent. Original worked. This one worked. I don't know. That'll be something to research to find out exactly why do I sometimes have to put the other on top. And then why do I have to do the from random, import random, randent. Okay, this must actually tell it to pull that. I'm actually going to research that later for, I guess, the class, because we're doing this class again tomorrow at 11 o'clock for the Harlem Library, and we'll actually know a little bit more by then. Okay, so basically this code could actually be done two ways, and I'm actually going to borrow, because we're here already. I'll actually add that to the handout, so we'll have it for next time. Okay, so let's go ahead and scroll down here. Like I said, this even makes it into a little bit of a fun game in Scratch, and I have not programmed all this in Python, so it's actually a challenge. Okay, so I'm including this. I know you can do it with what we just covered. So if you use the if then, so if we actually went to our section here and we actually go to the, where is it? Yeah. So if true, you can say use the variables on there. Okay. Use the guess. Okay. Do an answer, create a variable, create a guess variable, create a my variable, call it whatever you want. That'll work out fine. And then actually have it set up to pick random, which we just covered above. So this is just kind of an addition to that. Okay. Now, the neat part about this is you could go beyond this, especially with Scratch. So you could actually make this to game. I could even foresee just making just a little text-based kind of, you know, you could have a score on there. You could have set some kind of timer. And if you even spent more time with it, you could say that every time that you either hit the green flag or every time, you know, the timer would ding down, it would take money away. Or you could even set it up so it literally is kind of like a slot machine and it costs a certain amount of money. And if you guess the right number, then you got a certain amount of money. So it was a constant adding and subtracting at the same time. So even this simple little thing with no graphics, you could come up and make your own really, really neat game. So yeah, so that could be That could be like just a little bit of a quick, easy game to do. Okay, so I don't know why that thing's doing. Oh, I know what it is. It's over here. There we go. All right, so we've actually come close on time, but I'll leave it as a challenge to be able to do the rock, paper, scissors. And I'm actually going to pull it up into the main section. So this is just verbatim for working with the Python coding. So this is the rock, paper, scissors. And I'll go ahead and pull that up, and I'll show that off a little bit. So this is one of the big projects that they do on the Raspberry Pi, Raspberry Pi side, if I can talk today. And of course, the classic thing is rock, blunt scissors, paper covers rock, scissors cut paper. Now, I could actually see, and maybe even a challenge for you to even do the fun Big Bang Theory addition to is rock, paper, scissors, Spock. I'm trying to remember what the second one is. If you know what it is, tell me in the chat. Rock, paper, scissors, something Spock. Anyway, lobster is what's coming to my mind. I don't think that's it. But anyway, so you could actually start off just kind of with our friendly version of it. Rock, paper, scissors. So I'm going to choose rock. And it actually supposed to show a little graphic. So I know you scratch your head. I know I was scratching my head to begin with because I went, why is that an O versus? Well, these are actually supposed to be little graphics, okay? So it's supposed to look like a rock, and this is supposed to look like a pair of scissors, okay? And look, I actually won. So rock beat scissors, okay? Lizard Spock. I just remember what it was. It's rock, paper, scissors, lizard Spock. So if you actually did do this, maybe you could even go beyond and come up with a more advanced one. So I have the reason I actually have the whole code on my handout is because I really like this website, but it breaks the code up into separate little places, and it actually took me a while to actually figure out where the code actually was, and this is the whole code just as you see here. So I'm actually going to pull that up. It was a little bit aggravating. This kind of puts it together. It kind of breaks it up into separate little pieces. So that means it's a great way to do the project because as it's going, it's explaining. Okay. So definitely feel free to do that. It's a great thing to do. And if you want, they actually do have a version here on the first page that is a printer-friendly version of it. So you could click that, download it, print it out, and then you could follow along that way. Now, I could actually almost see a whole class being just creating this because it is a little bit detailed. And it talks about every little section here. Now, of course, the double challenge that I have for you is, one, I showed you a project made in Scratch, trying to make it into Python, which I know you can based on the things that we've covered today. And then having a Scratch, a Python code, and trying to make that in Scratch. So not only make this project there, but also make it in Scratch as well. So here's our circle or our rock. Here's our flat line, which is supposed to be paper. And here's like our little bit of graphic, supposed to be a pair of scissors, and actually looks like a greater than 8, okay? So if we go through our code here, oh, hang on, I'll do because I've got the big thing. So it goes through all here. This, of course, is instructions for flat out typing it, and it talks about things, making sure there's an indentation, talking about there's an else is actually what we're talking about. It uses the if, which we talked about in just a second ago. Talk about our different results, also running it as well. And it first kind of pops up and asks our questions, player runs. Now talks about the scissor art, which is kind of neat. Okay. So that's great, but the full project is actually listed here. And the big thing about this is you can see all the code working. There's one thing that's a little bit different. Where's the... Okay. The only thing that's really different here is, do you see where it says end equal sign? That actually makes it all on the same line. And if you remove that, which the Edublocks, I could not find that in the Edublocks. It just may be a separate code. Okay. But the Edublocks, if you remove that, you can do all of that with the Edublocks. The if, the else. Oh, if I hover there, it tells me. Cool. There you go. Oh, come on. Oh, it just kind of explains a little bit. Okay, good. I didn't know it did that. So you can actually perform all of that by using what we're doing, the Edublocks. So let me do run real quick. Where is my run? Oh, it's already running. And I'll do scissors, so I'll do S. It says scissor versus paper, player wins. Now, another thing to do would be to make it a loop. Okay, I would challenge you to make it a loop, because every time I want to do it again, I have to hit play again, but maybe even have it so it's going to the next game. Now, if you wanted to go beyond that, you could come up with some way to actually make it have a score, especially in Python. That would be really great to have it visual on the screen, and in Scratch. And you could actually make it do the like do different graphics or something like that. Okay. All right, so that's really my big challenge. There. So this is one, like I said, one of our newer classes. This is the first time I'm actually teaching this class. So I hope you enjoyed it, and I could see other stuff we could teach as well. More additions, more coding on here. I hope the projects were interesting. I try to make projects with anything we do. If it's interesting to me, it might be interesting to others as well, or at least everything we're doing is geared towards to creating something. Okay, we're not just sitting here I'm not just sitting here talking about, well, variables and strings, and no, we're going to jump right in and we're going to go ahead and we're going to make those changes and then see what it does. Okay. All right. So some resources here, of course, are for Scratch. The Explorer is fantastic, of course. Making a game in Scratch, videos for Scratch. If you want to go beyond, of course, what we covered today, there's Code Academy. There's also Learn Code the Hard Way. This is our Python resources. This is a great website here. This has a bunch of simple programs in it for Python. And again, I would still encourage you to try to do it with the Edublocks, mostly because the big thing is you're trying to learn to begin with, having a lot of troubleshooting, getting used to what the code should or should not look like. Like I said, most of the things I've seen are available in the Edublocks. Here's one that's even like, there's one on here I thought was like print random names or something. Let's see. Anyway, yeah, so this has a bunch of just little simple Python codes on there. This is the top libraries. People say, well, what else can Python do? This is a great resource. It's talking about other libraries that you can install. Now, this doesn't work for Edublocks. You'd have to do the straight Python or maybe with one of the other programs. And it talks about the top libraries that you could add, what you can do with them, how that can help your flow. Okay. So these are the things that you install with your Python and then make changes that way. The best example I can give that is basically if you use something like GIMP or Photoshop, and then you say, okay, well, I need different brushes, I need different effects, and you install an extra program, You're still using those main programs, but the extra features allow you to do new things that you could not do before. And this is a big one to get asked about, of course, is the Python gaming, which is understandable coming from Scratch in general. This basically has lots of tutorials on their website about the Python gaming, the Python add-on, and let me here. I wanted to show something visual. It's got tutorials on there. It talks about all kinds of neat games people are making about it, highlights, details, how to do stuff as well. And there is a, see if I can find that real quick. There was actually a fantastic, let's see, someone's made Python Doom apparently, so that's an interesting one. I haven't tried that one, but Python Doom is on there, so it can actually show what Python is capable of. Let's see, talking about turtle races, the different graphics on there, and that's by adding the Python games library. There was a fantastic Scratch one I saw the other day. Let's see. Give me 1 second. Okay, no, I don't see it. Okay, but anyway, it was on the Scratch website, and oh, the wiki. It was on the Scratch wiki, and it actually delved into all kinds of different games that could be created. So if someone's really, you know, big into that, of course, that could still be, you know, something they're really into, and kind of learning both, trying to switch back and forth, you know, and get a better feel for coding in general. I don't feel negative about any of these, or even someone messing with Unity or the rest of them, as long as they're trying to get involved, learn something new. And this is a great one too. And kind of get your mind ready. So this is some hands-on Python tutorials as well. Talk specifically about the strings. You can just click and kind of jump into here. Loops, and like I said, the Edublocks is a great place to start with a lot of this, just so that you're not getting too negative about, oh no, the code keeps saying it's wrong. Hey, everybody messes up, everybody fails at the code, put in the wrong thing. There's several ways to do the same thing, and as you see, some of this can even go into that. This is one that's about Mad Libs, and that was one of the things we did with the training. And you basically have it go in and change words randomly with a list. But maybe in a future class we'll delve with the list part. This is also a project that deals with the Python. We'll finish up here. This actually deals with the Python Py. I haven't dealt with this myself, but it's basically Minecraft Py. And basically you can go into coding it, changing different attributes, and it's basically to get somebody ready to more like using Python, and kind of getting them ready, getting them kind of used to the different languages and everything, and also making it something visual at the same time. So it's not really making a new game, but it's editing, changing the on a current game, I guess you'd say. But yeah, that could get them started, trying something new. You know, there you go. Some live editing going on while you're playing the game. So maybe that could be a good future class as well. Okay, so we have covered a lot this afternoon. I'm very glad that you're here with me. This video, of course, will be up and available later. Let's talk about some of the, so let me see, anybody have any final questions? All right, so let's talk about what we're going to be doing tomorrow. We're actually going to be doing this class tomorrow again at 11 a.m. And the funny thing about it is stuff I've learned today will actually bleed over into that one too. So we'll have a little bit more education, just like any class, anything you do, the more you do it, the better you get at it too. And, you know, kind of get used to the questions and already kind of anticipate what folks will ask. And then tomorrow afternoon, we're going to be doing our birding class. Of course, here it'll be posted on our YouTube channel as well. Okay, so definitely join me for the 11 o'clock one. If you're wanting to go through the handout, maybe still struggling, maybe even watch the video when it's posted and kind of fast forward, and then we'll be adding some new stuff, I'm sure, as well. We'll be talking about birding tomorrow. It's a great activity to do. Go out while you're getting exercise, staying safe, walking, you know, in parks and stuff, visiting state parks, even national parks, or even small little parks and stuff too. So that's a lot of fun. Oh, good. Thank you. You're welcome, Mac. It was wonderful to have you. All right. And then on Thursday, we're going to be doing library resources and apps class in the morning at 11 o'clock. That's on the Grovetown Library page. And then at 2:30 on the Columbia County in Evans Library page, we're going to be doing the library resources and apps class, just so that we're available on one class in the morning and one class in the afternoon. So definitely drop by, ask any kind of questions, and those videos will be up and available for later as well. Here's kind of a little bit of our schedule for the rest of the month. And this week, see what we've got this week. Next week, we'll be doing Google Suite 101, the 13th eBay and Facebook Marketplace, Internet Buying and Selling class. Now's a great time to get stuff, put it in a box, and try to sell it on eBay, or of course, sell it on Facebook Marketplace. People say, can you do Facebook Marketplace safely? Sure. There's people that do what they call the porch pickups or the porch drop-offs as well. Then next week we'll be doing Windows 10, Internet Browser Basics, Google Search and Internet Safety Basics, and at 11 o'clock on the 12th we're going to be doing a new class, Video Creating Basics. We're going to be using the Windows 10 Photos app that is now a full-fledged video editor. So we'll be dealing with that, making kind of a fun project. I'm hoping to get some videos that folks could download pretty quickly from a site, so we can kind of do a little bit of practice together. And we'll be talking about making videos, home video editing, and of course it's got special effects and 3D graphics in there too. So maybe even making just a fun short movie as well. And then the 13th, we're going to be doing birding next week, internet safety and security. We'll be doing the video creating basics there at the end again. And we'll be doing gadget help morning and afternoon. So what is gadget help? That's usually something we do near the end of the month. Stop by, have a gadget, have a question, have any questions about library resources, need some hands-on, or excuse me, the virtual hands-on, I should say. And just post in the chat, and I'll see how much I can help out as much as I can. Okay, and that's kind of a drop-in. Okay, so let's go ahead. Oh, let me tell you a quick reminder. Our libraries are open. Our new Grovetown Library is open. Yay! Curbside Holds Pickup is available. You can go to gchrl.org for details. You can call the library Monday through Friday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. Please don't forget to like us on Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channels. And please give this video a like. Remember to make comments in the chat and also like and subscribe. You do have to be signed into YouTube, so remember you do that. And our YouTube channel, the easiest way to find it is just search YouTube for GCHRL videos, and our channel will pop right up with my videos and other folks that are posting stuff. So make sure that you subscribe, like our Facebook channel, so you'll be updated with when I become live, or other librarians come live with their programs and stuff, story time, all kinds of fun stuff. Okay, so everything's going to be good. And do realize if you have any questions in the future, just drop by one of our live classes, and I'm happy to help in any way I can. Okay, so have a great Tuesday. I will see you guys Wednesday and Thursday, And thanks for stopping by. So bye-bye. Have a great day and stay safe.